So, after our 20 minutes of comments, I pushed record so we can get a good HD quality video of just our discussion on replacing software as a service application. So, guests, let's try and stay on task. And then when we're done with our rant discussion, hopefully 10, 15 minutes, we'll go ahead and turn the record button off, and then we can just kind of chill until the end. And then we'll get back to comments. But anyway, today I got the idea we want to talk about replacing software as a service applications, basically online-based applications, which I think online-based might have been more the concern, although there's quite a bit of overlap between them. So before I jump in and talk about things, anybody want to take the lead here and talk about anything specific here?
I really don't have any online applications that I use, unless you want to include Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime.
All right.
I don't do any office work online or anything. I do banking online. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with that.
Yeah, and that's okay. But we're talking about utilizing Google Docs, using a password manager connected to the internet, and things like that.
These are things I never ever was exposed to, so I barely know what they are because I've never had to use them.
Correct. Ricky, any thoughts?
When it comes to using offline applications, I don't use that many offline apps per se, but I think the one that I have pretty much become a pro at using is KeePass XE, because I mean I prefer to have my passwords off of a web browser.
Yep. Yeah. And if you do want it on a web browser, you can use the extension for KeePass XE as well.
Yeah, I mean, good. Yeah. Other than that, the only other thing that's pretty much the only thing I use, because the thing is, I think storing passwords offline is a good thing. When it comes to email, though, I mean, yes, I've gone to Thunderbird here and there, but the thing is, I just prefer using a browser exclusively, for email services.
I'm just the opposite, because I like to keep some of my emails, so I have them all POP3 down to Thunderbird, and I've had it that way for like 10 years. And if I need to go in and look for an email I got 10 years ago, a receipt or something like that, or if I need to buy something again, I save a lot of emails because they're like sticky notes after a while.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Well, and now that you know what you paid for something before, then you know what to expect the next time if you're getting ripped off or not.
Yeah.
And now that they serve as a receipt.
Yeah, my biggest concern with the software as a service mostly is the data collection tied to it. They can collect and store a lot more data, and also the bigger, more security factor, although privacy as well, is that when you're utilizing somebody else's services in that manner, they actually have access to all that data, and they can choose to look at it if they want. There's obviously some things like LastPass, like we don't even have access to that. They have the encrypted blob, but they may not have the actual encryption key. But the fact that they have it, that is more dangerous to you specifically. And these are the things we need to keep in mind, is all of these services that have crept up more recently, and having crept up as they have, they're giving us so much more convenience. Like, oh, it's so easy. I just have my passwords here, and I just log in here, and I download their app, and woo, I have everything. And that's going to cease being an amazing thing the one time that there's a breach or other things like that, And those are the things that we need to think about. And so we need to learn how to replace these software as a service applications.
Paper.
Yeah, paper. There you go.
Paper. I'm old school. I keep my passwords in a book. I also have a couple of USB drives that are encrypted.
Yep.
With passwords on them.
Yep, and that's a good thing to do. But yeah, I pull down 3 software packages I want to talk about. I don't know if you guys had any other ones to chat about as well, but obviously the first big one is your online proliferation of your Office documents, so Google Docs and Office 365. Of course, there's applications to use these, collaboration and stuff like that is all great. And utilizing those in those type of collaborative situations. But here's the downside. You don't need every single document in the cloud. You don't need every single document in a place where somebody else has access to it. And it also produced this other factor. When I was writing one of my books on holidays, and I was co-writing it with somebody who was in high school at the time. And as he's writing out things, and we're sitting there at the donut shop and writing and things like, did you save it? He's like, well, how do you do that? Are you kidding me? Like, senior in high school, you don't know how to save a file, because they haven't trained the kids how to actually work with files. Because everything's just in Google Docs. Now, there's tons and tons and tons of places to use offline applications. My favorite is LibreOffice. Another big one in this field is OnlyOffice. LibreOffice, though, it supports all the formats you need to publish books. OnlyOffice does not seem to. And so that's why I use LibreOffice. But anyway, LibreOffice, it is an entire full Office suite. It includes your basics, word processor, spreadsheets, presentations. It also contains a drawing application, databasing, math application, just everything that you would need, all offline. Now, you can still share documents online. In fact, there is a way to get LibreOffice in an online format where you can share it like Google Docs and Office 365. That's not part of the basic application. That requires like Nextcloud or some other implication like that. But nevertheless, utilizing LibreOffice as an offline document manager is absolutely the better than using Google Docs or Office Docs for everything under the sun. So that's the first one that I had talked about. Anybody else have any other comments about Office documents? Which ones do you use, and or any other software after that?
When it comes to Office documents, I mainly have mainly text documents mainly. When it comes to other types of Office documents, I haven't really messed with them that much because I don't really use an Office suite that often unless I actually need to download maybe LibreOffice for at least a particular use. Other than that, what I mainly do is if I need to secure any documents, it's either one, I'll pretty much back them up to either a flash drive, or two, I will pretty much upload all my sensitive documents to my personal GitLab.
There you go. Yeah. And I hadn't really used much in the way of Impress, which is like the PowerPoint format, but I have been using it more recently because my Christian channel, I found that the Impress is a really good way to put my Bible verses up as I'm discussing things over there. And I have a custom slideshow built out, which matches the rest of the theme, so I can seamlessly go in between the Bible verses and the theming around the site. So that's actually a really good function that I have. So I use that. Of course, I do some of my personal accounting type stuff on the spreadsheets, and I actually have used the drawing applications, which is really good for doing active PDFs for clients. So things like that. So those are Office suites. Any other package anybody's using before I go on to my next?
No,
not really. My accounting is done in a Windows virtual machine rather than using Windows. Take advantage of VirtualBox. It works for a lot of other things.
Dan, have you looked into like K-Wallet and other easy to use ones? They just don't work for you?
It's just too much to set up.
Okay. All right. I guess with that, the next one I'm moving to, one of my businesses, my oldest business, is still using QuickBooks, but this is the year we're getting off of QuickBooks. And my content creation business, the YouTube business here, has actually been using GNU Cache since its inception. And after running that for about 3 years, I'm like, oh, that works perfectly fine. So this year I am migrating my QuickBooks from the Windows-based application, which QuickBooks now is trying to force you to go into a software as a service model. My version is not that. I bought one of the last years you could actually buy it and have it on your system without it being like, get the cloud services. But if I wanted to upgrade to a more recent version of QuickBooks, I would be forced to go with the subscription model on the cloud. But with GNU Cache, I can do everything from a free software application, and it works out quite well. I do have a tutorial series on GNU Cache, and so you can have a look at that one as well, just kind of basic setups and things like that. But it works out pretty well. As I said, I tried other ones as well, like Accounting, which is a self-hosted web-based system, but it still wanted too much private information that I was not comfortable giving them, just for simple things like isolating your accounts receivable and accounts payable, and basic backups was not available on the basic thing, and I didn't see a way that I could easily secure it. Whereas GNU Cache, at least I can secure it on an encrypted drive. And so there are FOSS applications, more simple ones. K-Wallet, I had mentioned a few minutes ago, is a more basic one, more for personal accounting, whereas GNU Cache is more geared towards business accounting. And this is a really good option. And my accountant's like, hey, I just need the P&Ls, and this does P&Ls just fine. I can set everything up and work with it. So any accountants that are out there, figure out how to use this and talk to your clients about the dangers of using something like QuickBooks. I know how convenient it is, but the convenience is the thing that kills you. And that's something to keep in mind. Other comments on accounting type stuff? No? Okay. The last one then I wanted to talk about here is password managers. We also talked about those briefly. So password managers. Now there is a good FOSS one that is online based, Bitwarden, which if you have to use an online based one, that's better because you can at least audit the code. The reason I've not actually played around with self-hosting a Bitwarden just to play around is even Bitwarden, you have to give them your email address. Why?
I can't get past the idea of having your password somewhere else on the internet stored.
Correct.
That does not stick with me at all.
I am with you on that. And that's another reason why I'm not. If you have to, there are absolutely use cases for that. I get it. But for a personal individual, no, that does not make any sense whatsoever. It's like, but I have a phone and a computer. I got like 10 computers here, and I don't have any problem keeping my passwords up to date. Okay. And I'll tell you how I do it. But I'm using KeePass XC. This uses an open source format for the passwords, and there are a ton of applications that can read this format. If you're using something like LastPass or 1Password, you can export to that format to easily convert to KeePass XC. And utilizing KeePass XC, it works really well. Now, how some people will do it is you can put your password file on like a Nextcloud server, and then you can sync the file to that Nextcloud server. That's one way you can use it online, even though it's technically an offline system. But again, as Dan said, I'm not interested in putting any of my passwords that are not necessary to be online on the internet. And so what I do is I have my local NAS built out of Open Media Vault. I have one master password file that is stored there. Any updates to that file, I drop them into a place where I need to upload it to, and then once a month, that file gets uploaded, and then every computer that needs access to passwords just pulls off of that one central location. Once you do that once, it's on your system. You don't need to mess around with it anymore, and it will just automatically reopen with the updated passwords. You can take that file, send it to your Android device, you can send it to your Apple device, you can send it to your computer, and you will have access to all of your passwords. If you're talking about, oh, well, what if I manage things? If you're changing all of your passwords every single day to have a change to that file, you're doing something wrong. Okay. Just tell you. But replacing a software as a service password manager with something like KeePass XC is one of the best things you can do for your security and your privacy. Again, if you're forced to go online, use Bitwarden if possible, because this can be a whole lot better for you. But those are the software packages I had. Anybody else think of anything else you wanted to add to this before we end this part of the video?
Besides maybe KeePass XE. The other way pretty much to store passwords, in my honest opinion, is just to use a paper and a pen and just write down every one of them, and basically take that piece of paper with your passwords on it and at least put it in either a security deposit box or a vault.
Yeah, your chance of getting your home broken into is significantly lower than your chance of getting hacked on the internet.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that there is something to it. Now, the downside of that is you're not going to have the degree of complicated passwords I think that you might need in that scenario. And that's why I like the password manager. It's just I have everything converted over there. I can automatically create passwords, things like that. And then there's just one that I need to remember. So that is that. All right. We'll go ahead and answer questions and comments and any other accessory chat here. But thanks for watching this brief edited section on replacing software as a service applications. Let me know in the comments down below what other service as a software applications we can replace and what you are replacing it with, preferably in the FOSS world. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.